Hi, my dear students of 4th primary. Now, information and data are present in our lives in many forms. زي هنلاقي الانفورميشن والداتا في التيبلز such as schedule of classes and various graphs. In primary 2 and 3, we saw a lot of graphs in mathematics lessons, including bar graphs and line plots. We knew that the graph is الجراف ده it is a way of displaying the data. طريقة بعرض فيها الداتا بتاعتي that we collect اللي جمعناها مع بعض. We can extract ممكن أطلع منه a lot of information from it once we read it. لو عرفنا نقراه صح هنطلع منه information كتير قوي. We drew a lot of graphs including graphs in the information technology subject this year. When you learned how to create graphs on the computer in our lesson today, lesson 7 scaled measurements in unit 3, we will learn how to create a line plot. هنعرف ازاي نعمل line plot and select an appropriate key. الكي بتاعنا هنعرف هو ايه الكي بتاعنا and scale for it. We will be able then to explore the information. هنقدر بعد كده نطلع المعلومات اللي احنا عايزينها from any graph. Before we move to the graphs, let's review together one of the tools we used before, which is the fact triangles we have here on the board. Let's see it all together. Here I have the 3 triangles, as you see. In these triangles, we used to carry out addition and subtraction for the numbers in each corner. تعالوا نشوف هنعمل ايه. In the triangles we have today, we will use the numbers in each corner of the triangle عشان نعمل multiplication and division operations, which we had studied before in primary 3. طيب, let's see in the first triangle. This is the first triangle. We have the numbers 6 and 7. This is the first triangle here. As you see here, I have 6 and 7. طيب, if we multiply them together, لو عملت 6 times 7, we will get what? Yes, we will get the number of the third corner. So, if I make 7 times 6 equals 7 times 6 equals 42. يبقى the third corner here is 42. طيب, so the number in the third corner equals 42 as I said. Now we can certainly divide 42 by 6. طب لو أنا عملت 42 by 6, the answer is what? لو أنا عملت 42 divided by 6. 42 divided by 6, who can guess? Yes, 42 divided by 6 gives me 7. طيب, if I did 42 divided by 7, لو عملت 42 divided by 7 gives me what? Yes, of course, gives me 6. But you should have noticed that knowing multiplication could help us in division because both are related to each other. Multiplication and division related to each other. Meaning when we multiplied 6 by 7, ادتني ايه؟ 42. طيب, if I divide 42 by 6, ادتني 7. And when I divide 42 by 7, gives me 6. This is the relation between the multiplication and division. And this emphasizes that multiplication and division are inverse operations. هنلاقيهم inverse operation عكس بعض. طيب, now let's move to the second triangle. And here is the second triangle. As you see here, we have two numbers, 50 and 450. This is 50 and this is 450. So, if I divide 450, احنا عارفين طبعا في الديفيجن I start with the biggest number, right? طيب, who can tell me if I divide 450 by 50 gives me what? Yes, 450 divided by 50 gives me 9. طب ممكن أعملها بطريقة سهلة قوي. I will cross these two zeros with each other, and 45 divided by 5 equals what? Of course, equals 9. So, 9 is the third angle here. يبقى y here equals 9. طيب, who can tell me if I multiply 9 times 50? لو أنا عملت 9 times 50 gives me what? 9 times 50 equals, yes, excellent. 9 times 50 gives me 450. Okay. طيب, who can tell me if I multiply 50 times 9 the same, it will give me 450. So, the numbers in the triangle are what? Are 50, 450, and 9. Now, let's move to the third triangle. Triangle number 3. This is triangle number 3. As you see here, I have two angles, which are 36 and 6. Here is 36. The second angle is 6. So, who can tell me if I divide the biggest number, 36 by 6 gives me what? Yes, 36 divided by 6 gives me 6. Excellent. So, the third number or the third angle will be 6. This Z, the unknown angle, equals to 6. طيب. Now we have revised some multiplication and division operations, and we know that they are inverse operations. خلاص عرفنا ان multiplication and division they are inverse operations. Now let's explore how we will perform multiplication and division operations in the activity fun with facts in your school book on page 139 under the title of Axis. Now let's see all together. Here in your school book in Axis part, as you see, we have two numbers, okay? Like you see here, we have two numbers. Type. I will think for every two numbers, if I will multiply or divide them, لو عملتهم times بعض أو divided بعض، إيه الريزلت اللي هيطلع لي؟ وبعدين هعمل إيه؟ I will match them with the number that belongs to them in the opposite column. Just إن أنا هعمل multiplying أو division وهشوف الأنسر بتاعي وهعمل له matching. Let's see. طيب, I'll give you some time to match the numbers, and after you finish, we will review together the results of this matching. And now, after you have finished, let's review the answers all together. In problem number 1, as you see here, I have two numbers, which are 6 and 48. طيب, هعمل division or multiply? Yes, if I divide 48 by 6, the answer is 8. So, where's the answer here? Yes, the answer 8. يبقى letter C. ممكن أعمل matching, I can write the letter beside it. طيب, تعالوا نشوف بقى problem number 2. In problem number 2, I have two numbers which are 8 and 72. هعمل إيه؟ I will divide the biggest number, 72 divided by 8. Who can tell me 72 divided by 8 gives me? Yes, gives me 9. So, which letter should I use? This is 9. So, I will write here letter D. Let's move to problem number 3. In problem number 3, we have here two numbers which are 9 and 5. So, small number, I can multiply them together. Who can tell me 5 times 9 gives me what? Yes, the answer is 45. So, I will choose what? Yes, this is my answer, letter A. And now in the last one here, problem number 4, I have two numbers which are 44 and 4. So, I will divide them. I will divide 44. 44 divided by 4 gives me what? Yes, 44 divided by 4 gives me 11. So, my answer is letter B, as you see here. And now we have just reviewed some of the multiplication and division operations that we learned in primary 3. We are aware now that multiplication and division are what? Are inverse operations. عكس بعض. Now let's return to the objectives of our lesson today and see our next step. We will learn how to create a line plot. Let's see it all together. And also today, we will select appropriate key and scale for the line plot. Then we will be able to explore and exclude, نعرف نطلع information we want from any line plot. طيب, now we will start discussing this in build, but let me first ask you the following. If you are collecting data, لو أنت بتجمع data on how long one of your colleagues can take to do 10 jumps. لو بتجمع data عن الفريند بتاعك بياخد وقت قد إيه عشان يعمل 10 jumps. Or data about someone, for example, who has hobby where he collects different truck shapes in large numbers. And you want to display وعايز بقى تعرض الداتا دي in an easy way. Which way هتختار أنه way you will choose to display the data. هتختار أنه طريقة عشان تعرض المعلومات بتاعتك دي. طيب, حد هيقول لي ممكن that he will represent it in a table. ممكن حد يقول لي أنا هعرض الداتا بتاعتي في table. حد تاني ممكن يقول لي that he is thinking of using the graph. ممكن يقول لي أنا هعرض المعلومات بتاعتي على الجراف. What do you think is the difference between these two methods in the first place? إيه الفرق ما بين الداتا؟ إيه الفرق ما بين الجراف واللاين plot for example? Yes, أو التable. Now, let me first tell you some opinions of a group of your colleagues. تعالوا نسمع آراء كده الفريندز بتوعنا لما سألتهم about the difference between اللاين plots والبار graphs والtables. تعالوا نشوف الفرق ما بينهم. طيب some of them said that البار graphs allow us to compare the displayed information. قال لي ان الجراف ده بيساعدني ان انا اقارن الديسبلاي عرض المعلومات بتاعتي in a very clear bar format and it is sometimes colored. الجراف ده بلاقيه colored every bar in a different color. كل بار بلون مختلف. طيب tables display and organize information in rows and columns. بلاقي التيبل بيعرض المعلومات بتاعتي through columns and rows. اللاين بلوت، ايه الفرق بقى ما بين اللاين بلوت والتيبل والجراف؟ اللاين بلوت is graph that displays بيعرض الداتا using number line. لما اجي استخدم اللاين بلوت لازم بعمل number line وبيبقى فيه symbol x which is used to represent data on the number line. We have an example of line plots in your book on page 139 in the activity line plots under the title build. Let's see. Here in page 139, as you see, this is graph represents the data we collected about the time it took each student to do 10 jumping jacks. Okay, this is the line plot as you see, like the ones you have just seen in the video. Please read the graph very carefully so that we can answer the 4 questions in your school book on page 140. You can write the answers in your school book. Now let's see problem number 1. Here as you see problem number 1, this is problem number 1. He's asking me what does this line plot show? هو عايز يعرف اللاين plot ده بيعرض ايه؟ Or simply what information is the graph representing? ايه الانفورميشن اللي انا بستفيد منها في اللاين plot ده؟ We will say that this graph is representing الجراف ده بيعرض ال time it took the students to do 10 jumping jacks. Okay? طيب يبقى the graph represents the students أو time the students بياخدوه to make 10 jumping jacks. Let's move to problem number 2. Problem number 2, he asked me what does each x represent? ال x دي بتمثل ايه؟ Yes, we can see on the graph in our book that a symbol x represents 2 students. يبقى for every x هعرف ان ال x دي بتمثلي 2 students. Okay? Now, so if you would calculate the number of students who participated in this activity, لو عايز احسب كل number of students هعمل ايه؟ How do you know? And this is problem number 3. هو ده سؤال number 3. We will certainly count the number of x. هعد كل ال x's اللي عندي and multiply them by what? By 2. ليه؟ لأن أنا عارفة إن ال x كل x represent 2 students. يبقى هعد كل ال x's اللي عندي وهعملها multiply by 2. And this is the number. What is the number? Who can tell me? Yes, we have 18 symbols of x. أنا عندي 18x. طيب then what should I do؟ قلت هعمل 18 multiplied by 2 لأن كل x فيه 2 يبقى 18 multiplied by 2. 18 multiplied by 2 equals what? Yes, 18 multiplied by 2 gives me 36. Okay, now let's move to problem number 4. As you see here in problem number 4, here is he is asking me what is the scale for this number line. ايه السكيل بتاعي اللي استخدمته في النمبر line؟ The scale on the number line, the line plot shows marks at equal intervals. لازم مسافات متساوية ما بينها وبين بعضها. It represents the relationship between the units being used. In the example we have, the scale represents the relationship between the seconds and the actual measurement data that was collected. The line plot starts at what? لو شفت في اللاين بلوت هلاقيه ابتدى ب 8 seconds واخر نمبر فيه 16 seconds. It starts with 8 وend with 16. يبقى counting by what? Counting by 2. The scale here is 2 seconds. يبقى my scale is 2 seconds. And now we have learned a new term which is the scale in the line plot. In the previous example and we reviewed the meaning of symbol x. عرفنا معنى symbol x اللي في الجراف. At the beginning of our study in primary 4, we have learned a lot of information about ants and its numbers and colonies in which they live. let's see. Now let me ask you a question. عايزة أسألكم بقى سؤال دلوقتي. What about the longest ant you have ever seen? إيه أطول نملة شفتوها؟ For me, the longest ant I have ever seen was 2 centimeter long. كانت 2 centimeter long. You can see this picture of the largest fossilized ant. Fossilized ant يعني نملة متحجرة. That was discovered and its length was 5 centimeter. This ant was so huge. كانت كبيرة قوي لدرجة إن scientists عملوا comparing ما بين اللينث بتاعها وما بين اللينث بتاع الهامينج بيرد length. الهامينج بيرد length ده كان 9 centimeters long. We have on page 140 under the title Length of Ants a table that shows us various lengths of ants. And here's the table as you see in page 140. We are required المطلوب مننا بقى نعمل ايه؟ Represent all الداتا، نعرض كل الداتا اللي عندنا في التيبل دي on a line plot using the number line below the table on the same page. This is the number line as you see. Before we start to answer, let's have a look on the table. We will notice that the lengths of all ants are in millimeter. اهو زي ما احنا شايفين the lengths كل اللينثز اللي عندنا in millimeters. This is a unit of length like زي السنتيمتر بالظبط وزي المتر. It is the smallest unit of measuring length. We were introduced to it in lesson 1 of this unit and we use it in very small lengths. بستخدم المليمتر ده لما اقيس حاجه اللينث بتاعها صغير قوي. That are difficult to measure in centimeters or meters, like the lengths of very small insects, including some types of ants. The lengths here are from 1 millimeter. اللينثز هنا بتبدأ من 1 millimeter زي ما احنا شايفين هنا. Okay, for ghost ant هلاقي إن الجوست ant اللينث بتاعها 1 millimeter. And this is the shortest length. And up to أكبر length عندي اللي هو 40 millimeters. بتاع البول ant, the length of bull ant, which is the longest type of ants. There are other lengths between them. كل اللينثز دي ما بين 1 millimeter and 40 millimeters. Now let's think about what we will write on the number line. The lengths will be in millimeter. طبعا اللينثز بتاعتي كلها هتبقى in millimeters. The number line should be scaled starting from 0 to the highest value. هبدأ من 0 لغاية لما أوصل لأكبر value عندي, which is 40. Now let's determine the scale in this problem. تعالوا بقى نحدد السكيل بتاعنا اللي هنستخدمه في البروبلم دي. How much should it be؟ هعمل السكيل قد إيه؟ How are we going to divide the number line؟ هقسم النمبر لاين بتاعي ازاي so that it includes all the lengths من 1 ل 40. لازم النمبر لاين يكون فيه كل النمبرز من اول 1 لغايه 40. طيب حد هيقول لي the scale can be 2 or 4. Right. We also need to determine how can we represent the number of ants. لازم افكر ازاي هعرض number of ants دي. How many ants will be the symbol X؟ السيمبل X دي هتمثلي كام number؟ The key represent. Let's draw the number line here on the board. Let's see it all together. Here I will draw the number line. Okay. Now, يلا draw it with me. Let's draw the number line here. This is my number line. Okay. Now, I'll make it like this. Then what should I do? The number line starts with 0. لازم أبدأ ب0. Okay, then, and we start dividing it into twos. Okay, moving by 2. So it will look like this. يبقى 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. طيب هو انا هفضل اعمل لغايه امتى؟ لغايه لما اوصل ل 40. 32 34 36 38 and 40. اوكي وقفت عند 40 ليه؟ because this is the biggest number. طيب now الكي بتاعي اللي هو symbol x will represent what? Yes, it will represent only one type of ants. يعني x كل x represent only one type of ant وده الكي بتاعي. Now let's represent the table on the line. تعالوا بقى نعمل التيبل، نعرض التيبل على اللاين بتاعي. Now how many types of ants with the length 0؟ عندي كام type of ant length بتاعه 0؟ Yes, I don't have anything. Okay, يبقى هعمل حاجة عند 0؟ No, I will keep it as it is. طيب the other question, how many types of ants with the length 1؟ عندي كام type of ant length بتاعها 1؟ Only one type. So we have only one x above the 1. يبقى هاجي عند ال 1. طب أنا ما عنديش 1 هنا، هعمل إيه؟ Yes, ال 1 هلاقيها between 0 and 2 يبقى هعمل 1x only. طيب and now how many types of ants with the length 2؟ عندي كام ant اللينث بتاعهم 2؟ 2 ants, right? 2 types. يبقى هاجي عند 2 وهعمل 2 x's like this. So we have two symbols of x above 2. طيب تعالوا نشوف بقى الكويستشن التاني. How many types of ants with the length 3 millimeters؟ عندي كام ants اللينث بتاعهم 3 centimeters؟ 3 types. Yes, طب الحاجات دي بعملها منين؟ من التيبل بتاعي. I have 3 types. So I will go to 3 اللي هو between 2 and 4 وهعمل 3 x's كده above each others. Now the other question, the next question, how many types of ants with the length 4 millimeters؟ Yes, I have 2 types. يبقى هاجي عند ال 4 وهعمل 2 x's above each other. Now, so write 2 symbols of x above the 4. The next question, how many types of ants with the length 5 millimeter? Yes, only one type. So I will go to 5 type. هي 5 فين؟ Yes, between 4 and 6. I will draw 1x only. So we will notice that there's one type with the length 6. هلاقي type واحد بس length of 6. يبقى هعمل 1x only. And with the length of 7, okay, يبقى one type of 6 and one type with 7. يبقى هعمل عند 7 only 1x. Then how many types length of 8? Yes, one type with the length of 8. يبقى 1 عند ال 8. However, there are 2 types. في 2 types اللينث بتاعهم 9. يبقى هاجي عند ال 9 اللي هي between 8 and 10 وهعمل 2. Okay? طيب we will represent this with 2x symbols زي ما أنا عاملاها كده above the 9. There are 3 types with the length 10. هروح عند ال 10 وهعمل 3 types يعني 3 x's above each others. Okay, and now we will put x symbols زي ما احنا شايفين كده 3x symbols above the 10. And finally we will notice that there is one type of each of 18 و19 و24 و40. 18 و19 و24 and 40. Okay, طيب and now we will put 1x on the line عند ال 18 و19 و24 و40 as you see. Now we have represented all the data. دلوقتي أنا عرضت كل الداتا اللي عندي اللي في التيبل on the line plot زي ما احنا شايفينه كده. Now I'll give you some time to answer questions 2 from 2 to 5 on page 141. And then we will review the answers after you finish. Now, after you have finished, let's review our answers. Let's see question number 2. Here, as you see, question number 2, he asked me, why did we make your key? Why you make your key the way you did? بيقول لي ليه استخدمت الكي بالطريقة اللي احنا استخدمناها؟ إن ال X represent only one type. Why? هلاقي إن ال numbers in this data are very small. يبقى أنا خليت ال X equals 1 because the numbers are small. And that's why خليت ال X represent only 1. طيب تعالوا نشوف question number 3. Question number 3 بيسألني why did you make your scale the way you did؟ ليه عملت السكيل زي ما احنا عملناه moving by 2 only؟ Yes, as we said before, we could use scale. احنا كان ممكن على فكرة نستخدم scale of 2 mm أو 4 mm. ليه اخترت 2 mm؟ Because all the numbers من 1 ل 40 they are not very big numbers. They are small numbers. Okay, the same answer because the numbers from 1 to 40 are not large numbers. لو كان عندي أكتر من 40 كان ممكن أستخدم أو أغير السكيل بتاعي. طيب now let's move to question number 4. Question number 4 بيسألني why are required to write 3 questions. You are required to write 3 questions. مطلوب منك تكتب 3 أسئلة through your understanding of the data in the table or on the line plot. طيب هتكتب questions عاملة ازاي؟ Yes ممكن تقولي how many types are less than 5 mm in length. ممكن أكتب how many types are less than 5 mm. طيب ممكن أقول question إيه تاني؟ What is the difference in length between a dinosaur ant and the ghost ant؟ ده سؤال تاني ممكن أكتبه. وفي أسئلة كتيرة قوي ممكن نستنتجها من التيبل بتاعنا أو اللاين بلوت. These questions may vary according to each one of us. كل واحد ممكن يسأل سؤال مختلف خالص عن التاني. Okay? And now let's move to question number 5. If you added the Tinanom Meria Lobi. يعني إيه Tinanomia Robi؟ This is type of ant. ده نوع من الأنت أو فصيلة من الأنت. That could be as large as 99 mm. طب لو أنا ضفت الأنت دي للتيبل بتاعي اللينث بتاعها 99 mm. How would that alter your line plot؟ ده هيأثر في اللاين بلوت أو هيغير إيه في اللاين بلوت بتاعي؟ This is a very important question. Question اللي أنا بسأله ده مهم جدا. طيب حد هيقول لي إن I will enlarge the number line. حد هيقول لي miss I will enlarge the number line. يعني إيه enlarge the number line؟ هطول أو هكبر النمبر لاين بتاعي لغاية لما أوصل ل 100. طب أنا عايزة ليه أوصل ل 100؟ عشان هو بيقول لي الأنت دي طولها 99 ملم. حد تاني هيقول لي that instead of enlarging the number line بدل ما هطول النمبر لاين ممكن أغير السكيل بتاعي. ممكن بدل moving by 2 moving by 5 ملم أو moving by 10 ملم لغاية لما أوصل لل 100. And of course both answers are correct. الاتنين صح. Because we select the scale according. أنا بختار السكيل على أساس إيه؟ على أساس النمبرز اللي أنا عايزة أعرضها على الداتا بتاعتي. Now we have understood how we can represent the data on the number line plot and we're introduced to the scale in the 2 previous examples. However, you can see scales everywhere you look, such as the ruler that you use in your tools. Ours are a scale of time. والbalances كمان تعتبر scale for mass. Also graduated cylinders that we use in science laboratories. Can you remember the cylinders? This is considered برضو تعتبر kind of scales like the ones in your book in the activity scales wherever you look. Here in Connect on page 142, let's see Connect in 142. Let's look at the cylinders we have and answer the questions. This is the graduated cylinders as you see. This includes choosing a title for the activity, a key to represent the data, الX symbol بتاعنا, وكمان السكيل to represent it. I'll give you some time to think carefully and answer the questions on pages 142 and 143. I know that you are very excellent students and you are able to do this activity. And now we have reached the practice part in our lesson in which we will use the line plot in page 143 and the data in it. Let's see page 143. Now we are going to answer the questions on page 143 and 144. Let's look at the chart carefully. تعال نبص على الشارت كويس قوي and answer the questions. Here in problem number 1 as you see here بيسألني إيه؟ بيسألني what is being measured. يعني أنا هنا في اللاين بلوت بقيس إيه؟ Yes بقيس ال number of minutes studied. يبقى هكتب number of minutes studied. ده اللي أنا بقيسه على اللاين بلوت بتاعي. Okay, now let's move to problem number 2. Problem number 2, here as you see, this is problem number 2. بيسألني what is the scale for the number line؟ إيه السكيل بتاعي اللي استخدمته في النمبر لاين؟ Yes, we will notice that we have 60 written at the start. أنا ابتديت ب 60 and after it we have 75. ابتديت ب 60 وبعدها على طول 75. يبقى إيه الفرق ما بينهم؟ Yes, so the line divided by 15 minutes. Okay, يبقى السكيل بتاعي what? Yes, السكيل بتاعي as you see 15 minutes. And this is my scale. As for problems 3 to 5, when we have answers in minutes, we should convert them to hours. الأول الانسر هيطلع لي بminutes وبعدين هحولهم لhours as we have learned in lessons 5 and 6. Please remember that 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Don't forget that 1 hour 60 minutes. Okay? طيب تعالوا نشوف بقى problem number 3. Problem number 3 بيسألني what was the least amount of time spent studying؟ أقل time خده في studying كان قد إيه؟ Yes, as the number line represent إن least amount of time اللي هو أول number عندي 60 minutes. Right؟ يبقى 60 minutes ده the least amount of time spent studying. Okay. Now, when we convert 60 minutes to hour, هيبقى عندي إيه؟ Yes, 60 minutes equals 1 hour, right? Okay, now let's move to problem number 4. Problem number 4 بيسألني what was the largest amount of time spent studying or the most amount of time spent studying. Yes, أخد قد إيه؟ The answer is 150 minutes. 150 minutes. طيب مش انا اقدر اخلي المينتس دي اورز احولها لاورز. يس هعمل ايه؟ هي 150 فيها كام اورز؟ يس 150 معناها 60 بلس 60 بلس 30. ده معناه ان في كام اورز؟ 2 hours. ليه؟ لان 60 و 60 these are 2 hours and what؟ and 30 minutes. ده معناه ان 2 hours and half. Let's move to problem number 5, the last one. السؤال بيقول لي what was the most common amount of time spent studying؟ ايه اكتر او most common amount of time spent studying؟ اكتر time اتاخد في studying. This means ان انا هشوف اكتر x symbol on the line. Okay؟ طيب اكتر حاجة عندها x في اللاين بتاعي. We notice now that 90 has the greatest number of x. 90 عندها اكبر number of x. Okay؟ So يبقى 90 is the most common amount of time spent studying. here 90 ايه؟ 90 minutes. طب ينفع اخلي 90 convert it into hours؟ yes. هي 90 فيها كام hour؟ 90 يعني 60 plus 30 واحنا قلنا 60 يعني 1 hour. right؟ يبقى here I have 1 hour and 30 minutes. يعني ايه 1 hour and 30؟ يعني 1 hour and half. okay؟ طيب now at the end of our lesson today, I want to tell you that I enjoyed the lesson with you very much and I hope you benefit from our lesson. If you want more practice problems, you can check your understanding by scanning the code on the screen or in the first page of the lesson. Since this was the last lesson in Unit 3, you can evaluate your knowledge of concepts 1 and 2 through the final assessments you have in the digital version of the mathematics book. See you next time. Thank you so much.